how to write a for loop, how to write if else statement, and how to write a switch statement in Go. So let's dive in. So first thing what we do is let's create a folder that we used to create, right? So let's do it for loop, right? And then let's go to this folder and create a file called main.go, right? And just copy this generic header that we used to always have here, right? And ignore this print statement. So this is the header that we used to have. Now, if you remember, we used to have a generic for loop if you have worked with C++ and Java, right? So how do you used to write there? Less than 10 and then I++. And then you used to have some statement inside its curly braces that used to execute. So what used to happen? First, this initialization used to happen I is equal to 0. And then, according to this condition, the statement used to execute inside this curly braces. So if this condition was false, we don't go inside this curly brace. But if it is true, we go inside this curly brace and statement gets executed, right? And the next iteration, this I++ implementation happened. So this is the after part. So this was the general for loop. So how to write this generic for loop in Go? So how will you do that, right? So let's see. So just try to replicate the same thing. See, it's already showing me VS Code is written intelligent. So see how same thing is there, right? So we know that in Go we can declare a variable like this, right? I colon is equal to 0 and I less than 10, I plus plus, right? And then so in variables, if you open, right? So we have seen this, right? Shorten operator to declare a variable, initialize a value at same time. So we've already discussed this, how to declare a variable, right? And we can declare a variable like this also, where name string, that is variable keyword, and then the name of that variable, and then the type of the variable, right? Whether string integer, right? We've already discussed in the previous videos. So let's go to the for loop. So now what we can do, we can just print it, right? And see whether it's run or not. Before tab, this was a shortcut. If you wanted to write any folder names, you just type the initial and press tab, right? So it will complete for you in the directory that is in the terminal. So go run main.go. See, from 0 to 9 it has printed because 10 is not less than 10. So the condition becomes false, it comes out of the loop, right? Then we will see the other way. So you can split this part that is inside the for loop into three parts, right? The first is the initialization part, right? So let's initialize it with 0. Then is the condition part. So we can add I less than 10, right? And then we can write the statement fmt dot println I. And then we can write the after part, that is increment part, right? So this is the same thing as above that we did, right? And if you run this, you will get the same output. See, the same output you are getting here. So this is the another way. So we have just split that for loop into three parts, right? Now, there's one other way also. That is, you can just write for loop and just write fmt dot print ln, and then you can write loop or anything that you want text, right? And then just put a break. So what will happen here, you will see that this will loop does not have any condition inside it, right? So it will be an infinite loop if we don't add a break here, and it will keep printing loop dot 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 in my terminal, and it will get hanged, right? But if we have add break here, it will execute once and it will terminate. So let's see. Do run will not go, right? So loop once is printed, but if you remove this break, it will keep on printing this loop. So I don't want to do that. Okay, so that is why I'm not trying. You can try in your system, right, and see whether it gets hanged or not, right? So the other way, let me see it, right? So there's one more way to write a for loop, but if you have installed the latest version, that is one dot, if your Go version is 1.22 and above, right? Then only this methods work. As mine is older one, so it should not work, right? Because I've already installed the older one. I've been working with Go, so it will not work. But let me show you how to write the other for loops. If you had that version, you can try and test it. So let's see. I is equal to range 3 and just fmt dot println. So what happens is that this range 3 basically creates a list of 0, comma 1, comma 2. And then you can easily iterate over these integers, that is 0, 1, 2, and you can print it, right? So it is simple, it works like that. So it can be anything. If you have any array, you can use an array also using that range. So it will give you the index and the value. So it works when you have the Go version above 1.22. So this was the way to create for loops, right? This was a general thing that we discussed in this video. In the next part, we are going to discuss now if-else statement. So let's go to this and create a new folder called p5 if-else, right? And create a main.go file, main.go. Cool. Let's just copy this header again and just print it. I don't want to write again and again. So we have added and just remove this. Now, if you remember a generic if else conditional statement, so what you used to do, you write if condition one, right? And in the curly brace, you used to execute some statement, right? And then else part. So else should be in else part, and the second thing is statement, right? So this was the way that you used to write. Just try to replicate the same thing in Go. So if let's say we declare a variable, let's say name, or let's say number number is 10, right? If number is equal to 10, then fmt.println, hooray, right? We'll print hooray. Else will fmt.println will say sad, right? And just try to run this code. So first we'll go to this folder p5, press tab, and then go run main.go, right? It will take 1 or 2 seconds. Just wait for some time, and you see that hooray is printed. So number we have initialized with 10, and this condition has become true. And now when we run this fmt.println, it will print it, right? Because the condition is true. So this statement is executed, right? Now, one thing, if we go here and run this, so what did you see? Just moving this else statement to the next line, I'm getting an error in this terminal. You see that unexpected else, comma, and expected braces, right? So we have a syntax in Go, right? So if you're using if else, the else should start from this ending curly brace of that if condition. Then only it will be the correct syntax. So this is the correct way. So like this, you can avoid the new line way, right? You can avoid adding it to the new line, right? So I like this format generally. So I always used to, if I used to work with C++ or Java or Python, I used to use this format only, right? Writing the else statement from the same line where I end the earlier curly brace. That is for the if condition, right? So you can do the same thing. Now this one other way, you can directly write the only if condition if you want also. It is not necessary that you have to write the else statement also, right? So is equal to 0. So it will be true, right? Because it is divisible by 4. So fmt dot println divisible, right? And if you run this, let's see, if you run this, you will get fmt.println, it will run this and it will print divisible. So divisible has been printed, right? So let's clear our terminal once and now see. Okay, now we have some logical operators also, right? So let's see whether if condition, how can we use that logical operators also. So let's see. 4 is equal to 0, and or we can see, or 6 modulo 4 equal to 0, print divisible, right? So you know how works, right? So whenever any condition of these two conditions will be true, this will be printed, right? So we know that 8 is divisible by 4, but 6 is not, right? So if you run this, you will see divisible is printed. So the condition still works, right? So, okay, go and main.go. Let's run it. Terminal is getting slow, so it takes around 2 3 seconds more. So it's printing divisible, right? Now there's one more way, right? And this is the coolest one I think so. So you will also like it. So in Go, you can precede a condition in the if part with a statement, right? So let's see, if num is equal to 5, right? And add semicolon here. And then you can add any statement here. If it is less than 0, you can print fmt.println negative, right? And the other thing is that this statement that you have added here in if, it will be available in else part also. So else if less than 6, right? fmt.println just one less, right? Else fmt.println don't know, right? So if you run this, you will see that this num is still available in this else also, right? So this is the coolest way to write an if else condition, right? According to me, like I think is the coolest way. You can decide for yourself whether you think is the coolest way or not. And if you think it is the coolest way, just comment down below that yes, I thought that this is the coolest way, or just give a thumbs up. That's all. So you see that I've entered 5 here and 5 is less than 6. So it has printed just one less. So it's still available here in this condition, right? So let's move to the other part, that is switch statement. How to write a switch statement. And that is also a coolest thing. So in Go, we can write a switch statement like other programming language, but there are some coolest ways also that are available there. So let's see what is one of the coolest way they are available, right? So switch and then create a file called main.go and just copy this header to this main.go file and we are ready, right? So switch statement is also one of the way to create an conditional. It's a conditional way to create, right? So we can add conditional statements there also. But we have something called switch and case. So basically, switch is the entry part, and according to that condition that we mentioned in this switch, that cases are executed, right? So let's see. So first thing is let's declare a variable called two, right? And then we create a switch, right? And we added I here. If you remember, this was a similar way that we used to have in other programming language also. So if it is one, fmt.println I am one, right? And let's just copy these two cases again, right? And we will edit that. Just copy this again, and then just copy this again, right? So let's name it two. Let's give it three. I am two. I am three, right? And just run this program. So let's go to cd p6. Okay, I have named p5. Okay, sorry. So we'll rename it once and then go run main.go. So there's some issue coming, right? So let's see what is the issue. So it says that missing statement after label. Okay, so you see that what was the issue now? Let's run it. The issue was with equal to. So I have given the space after colon, right? So that was the issue. For that, this error came. So you now know that you cannot write this variable declaration like this, I colon, then you can give a space and then you can declare it. No, this is a wrong syntax, right? So this is one of the way to write a switch case, right? Let's see the second one. So you can write a condition also with the switch, right? If you remember in the other programming languages, we used to write And just why I am comparing this with other programming language, because maybe you are new to this programming language, but maybe a lot of people have already worked with other programming language, because maybe Go is new to you, but you have some hands-on to other programming language. So I'm comparing it because it may be easier for you to understand it, because it was easier for me to understand it. But if you are new, no problem, because you are seeing it live here, right? So we can add multiple conditions also. For example, not condition, basically the cases, I mean. So if I remove this case, right, and I do here comma 2, right, and then I print I am 2. So what do you think, whether this case will be executed or any error will come or something or not, right? But it will be executed. Why? Because second case also it is printing into 2, and if I change it to 1 also, it will print the same case, that is I am 2. So let's see, if I change it to 1, what will the value be printed? It will still be printed 2 only, because for case 1 and case 2 the same print statement has been like printed here, right? We have something called default case also, right? So we can add a default case also. Default fmt.println I am no one, right? So if I add 5, so as 5 is not in the case, so it will go to the default case and it will print I am no one. So let's see. Yeah, I am no one, so it is here, right? So let's clear this terminal once and then see. Now we are moving to the coolest part, right? So let's see the coolest part. So let's see. Who am I? And this is the variable name that I've given. Who am I? Right? And then we will declare a function inside that will declare a variable, and then just keep a note of it. Like, let's see what I'm doing, and then I will explain you. Right? So interface, and then we will give okay interface, and then we will write some statements here, that is switch type here. Switch I type, and then we'll write some case here. And what will the case? Just keep a note, just don't get stressed or hurry. Just keep a note of what I'm doing, right? And just copy the statement to save time. I am int, right? And then case bool, I am bool, right? So I've given three cases: string, int, and bool. And let's add a default case because we have learned that just now. Right? So I've given this case as well, string, int, bool, and default, right? And I've created this function and I've added to this variable. Now, how will I call this function and how will I pass this value to this here inside this function? So I've passed this value here. So how will I pass this value now and how I will call this function? So what we have to do is we have to go here, we have to type who am I, right? Who am I? And just give the value inside here. So if I give 2, and then I will call who am I, give true, and then I will give who am I, give some name Aditya. So yeah, that's my name. So now you will see what happens. So I've added, let me comment this one. So I've added some three who am I's here, and you will see what all cases will be executed, right? And you wanted to add something else also. Okay, fine, it is fine. Yeah, we can run it. So let's run it. Okay, so some error is coming, and let's debug what is the error. So it's saying that end of 35 and 20 and 2. Okay, so this is the switch, and outside this, who am I? This is the method. Okay, so this call I have done inside this function only. That is why the issue is coming. So let's go out, and here we have to call it. Press shift tab. Yeah, now it is fine. So that was some error made by me, but you got to know, right? And still some error is coming, and that is the same error that is coming. And let's see what is the issue. Okay, I've added a variable here. Oh, right. So, are you able to find the issue in this code, this piece of code that I'm able to show you on the screen? So, if you're able to found it, just comment in the comment box, right? What is the issue? Just pause for 1 minute or 10 seconds, maybe, and you can just figure out what is the issue and just print, like, type in the comments that, okay, this is the issue, right? So let me tell you what is the issue. The issue is this. Yeah, that silly mistake that I did. That was the issue, right? Because equal to I haven't added here, right? So that was a way to declare a variable that we learned shortened operator, right? Now if we run it, and again we have the same issue. So what is the issue now? One was the issue that, and the other one should be same thing, similar thing should be there. So let's see what is the issue. Okay, switch condition we have given. Okay, default case also we have given. Cases also we have given. Variable call also we have made. Uh, should we remove it because we are not using it? Hmm. All looks fine to me. Where am I? Who am I? And interface. Looks look fine to me now. Let's run it again. 32 and 70. The issue is coming on 32 line. That is who am I, Aditya. Right. So, what is the issue here? Who am I? I called it correctly. I'm calling who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Let's think about this issue. Cool. Yeah. So this is the issue. So this end of this main function, I guess I missed this bracket or deleted somehow, right? So this was the issue. So all the issues we saw why the syntax error was coming, unexpected EOF expected was coming. Now it will run fine. Yeah, it will run fine. See, I am int type, I am bool type, I am string type. So what happened? Two. Two value was went to this function and this I. So it was initialized with two, right? So this is a way just to pass a value to this function and it will pass to this interface. So a types which basically compares types of types instead of values basically. So if we use this type here, that means that we are comparing type instead of value here, right? So this basically int type that we have added, bool type we have added. So this string, int, bool, these are all interfaces for type, right? You know, you remember that, right? And the value types we discussed. So here when what happened, when 2 went to this type, it checked, okay, 2 is what type? 2 is int. So it went to this int case, it printed I am int type. Then it checked for other value, it is string. Okay, I am string type. Then it checked for other value, okay, I am true, that means boolean. So I am bool type, right? So that's for the coolest way you can write a switch statement and declare to a variable. And then you saw that how can you call this function that you have written, right? How can you pass the value to this variable, the function that you have associated to, right? This was the way. So that's all in this video. In the next video, we will be discussing about arrays, slices, right? And many more things. So thank you all and keep watching.